We are fortunate today to have a representative from the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund as well as the Los Angeles Zoo. So we're going to hear from both of them. I want to first recognize the fact that we have a whole field crew behind the scenes that are really doing all this work. Joe Burnett is the Condor crew manager, and the rest of the crew is here today as well. We have Danae, Darren, Kara, and Evan. Mike State couldn't be here with us today, but Kathy Hamilton is here in the office, and Joan Biddall, who put together our videos, and a lot of our communications is here too. So we're just all really thrilled to have you join us. And before we get to the releases, this would be a good time to welcome our first special guest from the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund, Dr. Tara Stawinski.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, well, it was such a perfect fit to do this. First off, I don't know how much you know about these condors and how social they are, but we found that it was a really neat connection that one of the birds that we had the honor of naming was Dian Fossey because of her work and gorillas being, of course, extremely social. We talk about this aspect of the birds a lot. So it's a real honor to have you for that reason, among many, many others. First, I'd love to just hear more about, let's hear about you first off. How did you get involved in the work that you do? I understand you did some reintroduction work.
Yeah, it's such a thrill to be here, and it's such an honor to have a bird named after Dian Fossey. For those of you that don't know much about Dian Fossey, she was an animal lover across the board from the time she was a child, and I think she would be incredibly honored that there's a bird named after her, and that's helping to bolster the wild population of these, incredible animals. And yeah, it's a really special day for me too, because before I started working with gorillas, actually, I did my PhD reintroducing a primate called golden lion tamarins from zoos back into the wild in Brazil. So reintroduction is sort of where I got my academic start and very near and dear to my heart. And so it's wonderful to see how successful this project is. I actually looked at it when I was doing my PhD research back in the 90s, because the project had already, started at that point. So it's great to be here.
Wow. Well, you touched a little bit on my second question, which was how would have Dian felt about this honor? Maybe you could touch on that a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So, Dian Fossey, I think there's a lot of parallels between maybe the Condor program and the work with mountain gorillas. So when Dian Fossey went in 1967 to work with the mountain gorillas, she went to study them, but she quickly saw that these animals were in grave danger. They were being hunted for trophies. People wanted hands as ashtrays and heads on their mantelpieces. They were losing their habitat to farming and cattle grazing. And so she really jumped in and started expanding beyond research to do conservation. And she thought that mountain gorillas would be extinct by the year 2000. And instead, they are the only great ape that population that's increasing in the wild. So they were at a low of about 250 in the 1980s, which I know is roughly where the wild condor population is now. And just a few years ago, we released the most recent census, which shows that population has grown to 600 individuals. So, it's wonderful to have these conservation successes. I think, another one of the parallels is just how long these efforts take. I mean, we have been on the ground now for 54 years. Dian will have been deceased for 36 years this year, but her organization is the longest running and largest organization fully dedicated to gorilla conservation. And we just know that this is the kind of effort, what you guys are doing, what we're doing, that it takes to recover these incredibly social, long-lived, charismatic animals.
So well said. Thank you for that parallel. That was exactly what I was thinking too. We've been working on this project now for 25 years in Central California. And, we've gotten the population from 0 to, well, in Central California, I think the population is creeping up into the 80s again. We were at 201 before the Dolan fire and these last 2 years lead poisoning events, which have been really, really horrible. So we've actually in the recent year have gone backwards in population. But overall, the trend is the same that you're seeing with mountain gorilla. Big population increase overall, and it's thanks to the people that are sitting here listening today, our supporters and your supporters that make it all possible. So how about let's ask you one more question here, and then we'll get to Aniko and how she's been doing over this last year at the LA Zoo. But what's new? What's big on the horizon for your organization?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, we're at a really exciting time for the organization. We work in 2 countries. We've been in Rwanda for 54 years, protecting mountain gorillas. And there we are building our first permanent home. It's a state-of-the-art research facility. We've never actually had purpose-built labs. We have 1 classroom for the literally thousands of students that we teach. So just in the next few weeks, this is a project that's been going on now for almost 4 years. We're going to be opening this campus, which the goal of it is to really help train the next generation of conservationists in Africa and beyond, because we know we have a lot of conservation challenges ahead of us, and we want to make sure that we've got a great cadre of young scientists and conservationists that are empowered to do this important work. And then we also work in Eastern Congo with a subspecies called Growers gorillas, which not that many people know of. And unfortunately, unlike the mountain gorillas, these animals are crashing. So we have lost 60% of them in the last 20 years. So we're working there with local communities. Most of them live outside of national parks. So we're working with local communities to help them establish community conservation areas. And we are now protecting an area of 2,400 square kilometers that previously did not have any formal protection. And there are gorillas, chimpanzees, lots and lots of birds. So we're very excited to be bringing a conservation corridor in Eastern Congo for these amazing and critically endangered animals.
That's amazing work. Thank you so much for all that you do. And thank you also for coming here today and sharing that with us.
Well, thanks again for having me and for the honor of naming a bird after Diane. I'm very excited to see the release.
All right. Well, we're excited too. So I'm going to pull in Joe Burnett now so he can introduce our guest from the Los Angeles Zoo, and or watch the Aniko video, whichever you planned on next. I'm sorry, I don't know which you intended to do, but either way, let's move on to Aniko's story.
Right on. Hey, thanks, Kelly. Thank you, Dr. Stoinski. It's definitely an honor to have you on, and God, incredible to hear about the gorilla recovery work. It's got the parallels. You can't help but see the parallels between gorillas and condors. You know, both long-lived, both very social. You know, we've always called them out in the field. Condors we've referred to as flying primates. So it's really cool to see these parallels drawn between the two, and just hope we keep that needle moving up. You know, keep that climb going. So yeah, today is the day we've all been waiting for. I mean, this has been a culmination of a roller coaster ride, I think, for a lot of us, an emotional roller coaster ride. Watching Aniko's story of survival, pretty incredible. So Joan has put together an awesome video chronicling Aniko's full recovery. We were able to obtain a lot of great footage over the course of her rescue and all the way to LA Zoo. We're gonna speak to LA Zoo after the video. They're gonna come on and talk to us. They had a lot of time with Aniko, and they were pivotal. You know, they were critical in her being here today. So everybody's a little emotional. So it's going to be a cool day to see her. I got a feeling she's going to go out first. That's my guess. And before I get ahead of myself, I definitely want to shout out the field crew who've been up late last night, early this morning, getting everything ready, getting the squeaky wheels greased, getting everything ready to go, boots on the ground. They are standing by, like the last release, they're all standing by inside the release pen right now, getting ready to I think we're going to add them on the spotlight. There they are. Hey, gang, what's happening? Can you hear us?
Hey.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, so from left to right, yeah, we have Evan, Kara, Danae, Carolyn, and Grayson. And yeah, again, these guys have been working their butts off the last few days, getting everything ready. How's it looking down there?
It's super nice out. Yeah, I think everybody's ready to go. And we have some wild birds out here too. So it's exciting.
Yeah, which of the release birds are around? I thought I spotted a couple earlier.
Yeah, I think they might all be here. At least 1019 and 1038 I just saw recently. 1038.
But we're going to come back to you. We're going to show Aniko's video. Everybody's been anxiously waiting to see this. It has a lot of the footage of that you guys, it's going to have a lot of footage of you in there. So get ready. Well deserved, by the way. All right, here we go.
Can't even see it.
What?
I just have to listen to it. I can see some of it, but they're doing a video. No.
You make it full screen? There you go. I got it on speaker. It's okay.
You get your sound back?
Awesome video. It's been quite the ride for sure. And actually, there they are. We have Mike and Chandra. What did you guys think of the video?
Awesome. That was a trip down memory lane for sure.
Yeah, so Mike and Chandra are with LA Zoo. You guys have been there as long as I have. And such a key part of it's like the whole, we talk about it. It takes a village to get these birds out there in the wild. And you guys do so much behind the scenes of getting these birds that we're releasing today ready for the wild, and also caring for our birds that get sick or injured and getting them back to health so we can get them back out in the wild. So obviously Aniko is a unique case. It's not very common we get a bird like her in, and she needs that extra care. And I know it's challenging for you guys because you're in captivity, obviously, and you're trying to keep her pristine, so to speak, especially a wild-fledged bird. So maybe just share some of the part of the her story that you guys were able to work, basically your work with her.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to really appreciate the field crew and Ventana for being able to, after such a devastating situation with the fire, knocking out the cameras and being able to get in there and get those cameras back up and working again so we could actually monitor. And we were monitoring right along with you guys because we're also interested. We always have Ventana cams up on our walls at all times anyways, while we're working. But thanks a lot for getting those cameras back up, because that was one of the things that we were talking on the phone all the time with Joe and saying, hey, I think you probably noticed it, but that bird's limping, and so that was part of the reason that you guys went in there and rescued her and brought her to the zoo in the first place, is because, with that male chasing her around and the female having a problem defending him, it wasn't looking good. So yeah, the decision to bring her in and, really get a good look at the leg and make sure she didn't have any other injuries.
Yeah, that's always a tough decision, right? I mean, when
Right.
we decide to go intervene, we definitely want to make sure, because obviously if that chick could have stayed with mom and wasn't being attacked by that male, we probably would have left her with
Sure.
mom. And we've done that with other nests in the wild. So that was, behind the scenes, we were all talking and, amongst ourselves, trying to figure out the best approach. And, your guys' feedback was so critical. And then we did make that decision. Fortunately, everything worked out. We were able to get her out of there. You've been up to that nest before. It's no easy task getting in and out of there.
No.
Mike and Chandra have participated in the past in nest entries where we've gone up to do health checks on chicks. These guys are well versed and been into a lot of wild nests. And the redwood trees are always unique. So she put herself in a position. We were able to get her pretty cleanly and get her out of there thanks to the field crew. I remember just my images of Evan with INIKO strapped to her back in the kennel. I mean, pretty epic effort on the whole crew's part. But then we get her down to you guys, and you guys just have the expertise and took such awesome care of her.
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's what we do is we raise chicks to, feed them into your release sites. And that's how we, get a population in the wild. And so, raising chicks is just old hat to us. That's what we do. So once she became, in a captive situation, after the health check, we did all the full workup, x-rays, everything to make sure that she was solid and didn't need to have any surgeries, anything to fix any bones. And thankfully her leg was just, sprained. And it was more like just getting her finished raising and then introduce her into a pen, much like the one you have there, probably, 5 times as big because we're going to have a lot of birds in it. All of the chicks that we raise every year all go into a big group pen and they sort of finish for the next year and mature to the point where, everybody sort of agreed that 1.5 years is about the age that you would like to release them. And so they sort of spend a big chunk of their first year in this big group pen.
And in that group, there's a whole mix, right? There's not only the chicks, but you got a couple adults in there. And
sure, we have a bird that we brought in from Santa Barbara Zoo as our mentor. And then we had all of the chicks that we produced in 2020 and a couple from 2019 as well. So we had a mixed bag of characters in there for Aniko to socialize with. She started off, she got here, she was hatched right around April 25th. So when we got her, she was about 187 days old, or just over 6 months, which is right around the time a bird would fledge anyway. Little premature in her case, but and she weighed 16.7 pounds, and within a week she had gained a whole pound. So she was a really good eater. She after that stressful event, after that event in the wild, captivity must have seemed pretty luxurious for her. We put her in a rearing chamber or a nest box rather, that we would put one of our hand reared birds in, just to sort of keep her contained and watch the injury and watch the leg heal, make sure we weren't putting her out in a big cage where she'd be bouncing around and re-injure the leg. So she spent about 1.5 weeks in the nest box, looking out into the cage where all the other birds were. And she was really wanting to get out into the cage with the other birds. And so right on Halloween, I think it was, we opened the nest box and let her out into the cage with the other birds. She spent a lot of time on the ground, walking around, picking at things and interacting with the other birds. And by the time a year came around, it's basically almost exactly a year when you guys came and got her from us. And she was up to 18.5 pounds. So 2 pounds up, that's pretty healthy female size for a bird of that age. So now she's 1.5 years old, just about exactly. And during that whole time, we watched her interact with the other birds. She had a huge group of birds to interact with. I think it was a total of 10 birds that she spent time in there socializing with. And they had their whole hierarchy that she had to deal with. And she's just a very well-rounded bird now. She's a perfect bird for release. And
yeah, we were talking with earlier you heard us talking with Dr. Stoinski about the behavior aspect of these birds. And, you know, you guys have pioneered a lot of techniques that have helped us out in the field with preparing these birds for the wild. But I mean, the parallels with primates are pretty crazy. I mean, when we all sit around and talk about condors' behavior, you know, I know Chandra has a background with primates too. And yeah, I mean, the whole flying primate thing is pretty spot on. And it's just not something you associate with a bird. You know, I remember when I started working with these guys, it just didn't add up. You know, you go, wait a second, am I actually studying a condor or a primate? You know, it's the hierarchy. And I think that ties in so importantly with birds like Aniko, that they need that structure, right?
Yeah, when I first started in this program, I thought there's no way this is going to work out. I'm not a bird person. But watching the birds, I thought I can do this. I have a background in primate studies, and they were just like watching monkeys, and it was easy to fit for me. And I became addicted to this program, and am thankful to have been part of this story for over 28 years now.
Yeah, we're still learning, right? I mean,
Concept.
God, these birds surprise us every year. They just come out with new things. You know, I think the trios are really interesting in the wild that we're seeing. And again, you know, those early researchers were looking at such a small sample size that it's pretty cool now that we're getting up to those higher numbers, you know, that we can actually start to see some of these more natural patterns developing that the previous researchers never had the opportunity to see. So that's kind of an exciting, you know, just being a biologist out in the field, I look forward to that, seeing all those developments and what more we're going to learn. But yeah, you know, we've bounced back. You know, today's pretty awesome in that we're going to be, after the release of these 3 birds, you know, we hit a low of 79. We were at 102 birds in the wild in Central California right before the fire. And after the fire and after some lead poisoning deaths, we dropped down to a low of 79. So that was a huge drop. I mean, took the wind out of our sails for sure, but, you know, knowing how resilient condors are, we just stuck to the path, and today's going to get us back up. After we release these 3 birds, we're going to go from 88 to 91. So we're going to be back in the 90s. So next year we hope to be back in the hundreds. And again, we couldn't do it without LA Zoo and all their help. Again, these guys are watching pairs, and pairs are producing chicks, and they take such good care of them. So again, thank you for your help with Aniko and all the birds. And thanks for jumping in today. And
Yeah. Thanks
really
for having me.
excited to get things going.
We look forward to seeing what happens with her. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. What's your prediction? Who's going out first?
Well, I don't know the other birds' personality.
Oh, come on.
I hope it's Aniko, and I hope, you know, for everybody that's been following her story, I hope it's an eventful day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just hope they all go out. You know, we have that classic where sometimes they just sit and stare at the door. So
when everybody's watching the most, it's always the ones, you know.
And just watching the birds, I mean, Aniko's definitely seems the most interested in getting out with the others. I think it's going to help with these 3 because they have the other 3 that are already out there.
Just listen to it on the computer.
Yeah. And, so let's get I'm going to switch gears over to the field crew, the folks in the pen down there that are doing the boots on the ground. How are we looking down there, guys and gals?
Looking great. Aniko's on the ground right now. She's definitely eyeing that count that we have right now. And she's definitely pretty eager to get out there. I think she's shown some good dominance behaviors with the birds that have been feeding, the wild birds that have been feeding outside. And she's definitely, we all have our money on her going out first, but we'll see. You never know.
All right. I mean, she is the star of the show, you know. Yeah. So what else has been, so you said we have the 3 other birds that are around right now, the ones we released in early November. And maybe a quick summary. I mean, we've got a countdown. We're down under 4 minutes, but maybe a quick update on how they're all doing, the 3 that we already released.
Sure. 1038 has been around since we released her. She hasn't really left. So we like that because we can keep an eye on her. 1036 right now, she's actually like probably in the canyon behind the blind, like just hanging out and exploring. And then 1019, she was really adventurous and left for, how long was it? 18 days. 18 days. But then she finally came back and she's been hanging out ever since. So I think they're excited to greet their pen mates. Yep.
Very cool. And the weather looks good. It looks on the cam, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's a perfect day. Beautiful weather.
Yeah, so I think the next steps, you guys are going to switch the cameras around so we get a view from your view there in the pen. And the birds you're going to see in the pen are not only the 3 release birds, they're going to be towards the front. We are also holding 4 pre-release birds for the Yurok and Redwood National Park release project. So you'll see those birds in the foreground. And so, yeah, there you'll see them perched. Now we got the view switched. I don't know if everyone can see that.
Up.
Here, Joan's gonna help me here. Yeah, so that's the view inside. And you can see that, is that Aniko there on the ground?
Yep, so that's Aniko on the ground. And
And the other, who are the characters outside? We got the 3 release birds and some older birds, right?
Yeah, so 995 is feeding on the cow right now. So you can see her doing that. And then 904 is on the pool right now.
Yeah, so 995 was released last year. Teach was really cool. He actually came back in. He was one of the first release, and he came back in the next day and brought 994 out, which was really cute. And really, yeah, it definitely spoke to the Condor, social aspect that, is really cool. Kind of the 994 didn't have the confidence, and it seemed like 995 ushered her out. So it was pretty cool. So we'll see what Teach does today. Maybe he'll come in and help these birds out. So the process here is we're gonna open the lower door first or the upper door?
We'll open the lower door first.
Okay.
This is the pen.
Yeah. So I think we're down to a minute. Can't believe we're all, after a full year, we're here down to a minute, less than a minute, and we're about to see Aniko go out in the wild. So pretty exciting. And, people are asking, how soon will she find mom? We don't know, whether she'll find Redwood Queen right away. People are probably going to ask, but is Redwood Queen in the area? I know she's not very common, that doesn't commonly come down that way, but.
We haven't seen her yet today.
Okay. Let's get so we got our camera views here before you guys get going. I'm going to get the pen cam here on the lower door so everyone can see it. Oh, there's Aniko. All right. I think we are in position and we're ready when you guys are. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Hold on.
Give us a second here, Joe. Yeah.
It's like a rocket blast off.
I know. Elon Musk doesn't have anything on us. We're releasing condors.
Well, open the gate, guys.
It's coming. It's coming. Get a little patience.
We're just working on our video system in here right now, so you guys have some really good views. So just give us a second here, guys.
No, just hang in there. But yeah, this is God. I'm guessing it looks like Aniko is going to be the first to go out, but you never know. So they're actually switching the camera view to the actual pulling of the doors. This is where they actually open the doors up. These cables that go out around the pen. Again, we try to do all this behind the scenes. The birds can't see into where we're at. Obviously, we try to keep them away from people this entire time. Whether they're at LA Zoo all the way to the release pens. So this is inside the blind. This is a remote way to open the doors. So, all right, looks like they're almost ready. Yep, we're ready when you guys are. So just give us a shout. The other thing that's happening is a couple of the crew are going to go out and about, because when you let birds out, when you release birds, sometimes they can take their first flight right away. So we'll stage a couple folks outside the release pen down they're going to some observation posts we have established for after release. So in case a bird takes a big flight, we can see where that bird lands and kind of monitor it. So I think that's what's happening right now. They're spreading out, heading out to their positions, and should be opening that door any second now. So hang in there, everybody.
All right, we're ready, guys.
Here we go. Carolyn's on the. There it goes. Keep pulling.
So the lower handle there under left. See how that's stuck on the. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Nice. Nicely done.
All right, door is open. So we're going to leave this lower door open for a little bit before we open the upper, right?
Yeah, correct.
So I can see the edge of Aniko over there. Let me zoom out just a tiny bit. Oh yeah, she's still down there. Everyone see her there on the left side? Oh yeah, she's peering out. Yeah, so this time it's pretty exciting. We don't have the latency, the lag between the camera views, so we figured that one out. That was the first release was a little bit of a test run, but now we have the live. You're seen as truly live. And again, we prefer when these birds don't go rushing out the door. The slower they go out, the better. Just because this is their first time out in the wild. You don't want them to make an erratic flight, a flight that out of fear. You want them to kind of go out casually, kind of in a cautious way. That's how they are out in the wild. Anytime they approach a new, say they find a new carcass on the coast, condors are very cautious. People go, why don't they go down and feed right away? And it's what they're doing is scanning the area for, here we go. She's thinking about it. She's in the pace mode.
We're at the edge of our seats in here, just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, if you guys are seeing anything different than what I'm seeing, let me know. But it looks like she's just.
She definitely wants that cow.
Yeah.
She's walking.
Right,
Here we go. Come on, Aniko. Suspense is building. I know I can't help but thinking back. I know she's so close. I keep thinking back to that day we rescued her, and just to think that we didn't know how bad that injury was when we grabbed her. We didn't know if it was a broken leg, which for a condor can be obviously it's bone breaks are very hard to heal and recover fully. So awesome to see her, to find, when we got her at LA Zoo and they gave us the initial diagnosis that it was just a sprain and hope. But boy, that day we were hiking her out. I think Evan remembers it was, we didn't know what we were into there, but cool to see it come full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. All I could think about right now is, when we went out there and we first found her, she was at the base of the tree. Really hunkered down and scared, and right now she is looking really confident and just ready to go back out there and be in the wild.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I do remember that she was hunkered down. She had to be terrified after being attacked by that older male. Yeah, I don't think she realized we were there to help her. That's for sure, because she definitely put up a good fight.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I always think about it. We were probably the first humans that, she ever saw, and we were kind of corralling her into that space so we could, pick her up and get her into the kennel. So
yeah, it is. It's kind of, as a biologist, you're always kind of torn because you want to help them, but you realize how stressful it is for them. So we try to, it's kind of a form of tough love, because you got to, for this situation, we had to get our hands on her to help her, and obviously she got down to LA Zoo and they have it down to a science. Just, they take such good care of these birds, reduce their stress, just put them in a really good place that just fosters their recovery. And again, you know, all our partners, you know, National Park Service, Pinnacles National Park, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, who oversees the condor recovery, you know, it definitely takes a village, and all the other captive breeding facilities I mentioned, Oregon Zoo, San Diego Wild Animal Park, and World Center for Birds of Prey at the Peregrine Fund. Huge collaborative effort, just to get these birds out there. Oh my God, Aniko's so close. It's the should I stay or should I go? Come on, go. But again, I prefer this. I prefer this slower approach. It is. The anticipation is killing me, but it is nice that she's taking her good old time. And as we say in the field, we're all on condor time right now. This is what it's like to be a condor biologist. You're waiting for that one thing to happen, and it might take 30 seconds, or it could take 3 hours. So it's patience is a virtue for sure, but it's always rewarding in the end. The wait always pays off. Yeah. So what are did the other birds move down the hill a little bit? I see some activity down there. I'm not going to move the camera from the door. Last time I did that, the bird went out right when I moved it. So
sure. Yeah. It looks like some of them are just below the bath, hanging out. We from our angle here can only see, you know, heads of the birds, but yeah, it looks like what 995 might be just below the bath. 904.
Yeah, and maybe you guys can describe what you did last night, putting out the obviously we like to put out a little food out there for when they get out, they have something to eat on.
Yeah, we put a couple cows out. We put one cow out on the slope farther down. Instead of putting a cow inside the DDT, the double trap isolation area, we put it just outside, and you could see Aniko pacing back and forth with that cow. And we did that on purpose, so they would be drawn to come out to that cow. And then, yeah, we installed a couple cameras, trying to get good footage today. And yeah, I got the doors greased up and, you know, ready to be opened, and made sure, you know, everything was working correctly. So.
Here we go. Come on, Aniko. Here we go. Oh. Yeah, what do you think in the upper door?
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. I think we're gonna.
I think it's ready. I think we're ready.
All right.
Which one's a little bit? So I don't know which one it is. Inner door, outer door, yeah.
Got it. Woo. Nice.
Good.
Yeah. Awesome job. Both doors are open.
Both doors are open, folks. Now this is going to make it interesting. Who's going to go out first? Because now we have both doors open. I don't know if Aniko is the front runner anymore. So I'm watching the cam here real close because I want to make sure I can capture who's going out where. Whoa. Yeah, and so everybody knows before we release condors, they're all fitted with with wing tags, not only a identification tag. So this cohort will have a bright orange tag with a black number associated with their stud book number, which whenever a condor is born, sorry, I was watching Aniko there. When every condor is born, they're assigned a stud book number. And we put the last 2 digits of that stud book on the wing tag. And that allows us not only to track individuals, but we can see them from a pretty good distance out in the wild with either binoculars or a spotting scope if they're perched in a tree. And then another really cool tool we use is we attach, especially on release birds, we always put not only a radio transmitter, which emits 1 signal per second. And this has been the traditional way of tracking condors for the last 20 years. But in recent years, we started using GPS transmitters to augment the radio telemetry. So it's been a really cool addition. And the data we get is pretty amazing. Boy, Nico's getting close. And this is really critical because when these young birds go out, we really want to keep a close eye on where they're at. And for example, just like you heard Grayson and Carolyn mention 1019, when she went out, she took a pretty big flight. She ended up a couple miles from the release site.
Oh.
And with that GPS, we were able to keep a really good eye on her. And the GPS will send us pretty accurate locations of where she's at around the clock. So the data comes in basically in an email. We just load it directly into Google Earth and we can see exactly where she's at. So it's as a biologist, it's a really great tool and just a way to kind of monitor the welfare of the birds. It's pretty nice. Oh, is Aniko going to go up? I think so. It looks like she might. She's thinking about it. Oh, who's this?
Diane.
Oh boy. Oh, was that? Oh, she went down a lower perch. Who was that? Was that Diane?
Diane.
Oh, here we go. Giving Aniko a little competition. Oh, look at.
Oh! We're all screaming. She's so close. I don't think so.
Look at this.
Push her, Diane.
I think Diane's going to give her a bump.
I know, right?
Man, they are really dragging it out this time. The excitement this is pretty awesome. Oh, come on.
Just kidding.
Oh. So will Diane take the initiative here? There's a window of opportunity for somebody. Come on.
Come on, Diane.
Yeah, it's funny. Remember, so the last release, once one bird went out, they all just started coming right out. So I think we've all been in that situation where you're at a swimming hole on top of a cliff, and who's going to jump first? Who's going to jump first off the rock into the pool? Oh, look at this! I don't think anybody called Diane.
We all had our money on Aniko.
I know.
Here she
Look at
goes.
this. How cool.
Not yet, but
Stop teasing us.
see it.
Pretty exciting. So close. She only knew how close she was to freedom right there. It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? I mean, you'd think you'd have that door open, you'd just fly out, but I think it speaks a lot to their behavior and just that cautiousness. It's just hardwired in them. I think it's a survival strategy. Look at, here we go. Diane going. Woohoo!
Oh, here we go. Aniko.
Oh my God, so awesome. Boy, Diane's got
Oh, they're like
money.
wrestling out there.
The big shout out to Dian Fossey.
Woo!
I think she was watching.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we just got Rachel.
Rachel's like, y'all
Yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, they went both right out onto the
Oh,
slope.
they're
Just getting
fighting
into
out
it right now.
904.
Oh boy, we got a battle going on. Look at
Nico,
this.
904.
Welcome to the
go
wild.
down.
And he goes up into the cage for 2 hours. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is when they get welcome to the pecking order right now.
Right.
Yeah, there's no delay on that.
Look at Aniko's on the carcass already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
She still likes to eat, that's for sure.
Look at that. She's owning that thing.
Yep.
She's a boss.
I could only imagine what 1042 Rachel Carson is
Yeah.
thinking right now
She's like, I'm
after observing that.
All right. She seems pretty cozy.
Look at Diane's right next to her.
Go Diane.
Yeah, Nico's been wanting that carcass for a while.
Yeah.
Beautiful sight right there. That was picture perfect, huh?
Yeah,
That was awesome.
It's a smart move.
Yeah,
on
let me
her
know
part,
if you
letting
see,
someone else go first.
Yeah, let me know if you see Rachel move and I'll switch it back up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I'm going to stay on the action here on the.
Yeah.
So yeah, LA Zoo did a good job with the Nico. She's definitely not lacking confidence. She remembers this. She's like, I used to be a wild bird. So awesome. Yeah, I think this is a reward not only for the biologists, but everybody that's been following Aniko's story. I mean, you can't imagine I'd see this day. Pretty cool. So Evan, was it worth that kennel backpack ride out for Aniko or what?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is a really special moment. You know, like you just said, I didn't know if we'd ever see this moment. You know, we put her in that kennel and off to LA Zoo she went, and you know, we didn't know what her prognosis was going to be. So this is just really
What
something
it's all about, right?
right? Yeah. So.
It's a big thank you to LA Zoo again. Sure, they're pretty stoked right now to be watching this. Yeah, Mike, Chandra, feel free to jump back in.
Yeah, we were just going back and forth about, you know, when you open a door like that, you know, and they're used to the door being still, you know, and they're kind of in a hesitant situation, and then the door moves. The last thing they want to do is walk towards the door. You know what I mean? They get kind of scared of it. So like we're watching, like, God, this is just like at work when we go to release a bird. It's the same thing. But just
Because you guys are moving them between pens and
yeah,
without trying to, and the trick is we're trying to do all this without them seeing us. So it's
all remote doors.
Yeah, all remote doors, even in captivity. You know, I think
Yeah.
folks don't realize the effort you guys go through on the captive side, you know, being there right there in Burbank. You know, you have a ton of white noise, but it's amazing how private you keep that exhibit. You know, obviously it's not visible to the public.
Yeah, it's probably the most difficult part of preparing birds for release to the wild is the isolation, because you're doing lots of work. You're feeding, watering, doing lots of things to take care of these birds while at the same time remaining completely invisible to them. So probably the hardest thing to do is to not create a food association with your daily feeding with humans. And so everything has to be done with visual barriers and et cetera, and keeping out all of that, keeping them from finding out how they're being fed, you know, over a year's time that's a lot of work, you know, I mean, and keeping the facilities up upkeep and repair and stuff like that without being in view of the birds is probably the most difficult, I think, to accomplish, and to get that quality release candidate that, you know, Joe and the crew don't have to deal with when they get it. It's a product that we're really proud of, that we could say, hey, this bird is good to go. You don't have to worry about that. No behavior problems. It's well socialized. It's got good weight on it. It's healthy. And and we've been observing it for a year. We can tell you this thing's solid, and barring any, you know, incidents, injuries, or anything like that, it should do fine. And so we put our stamp of approval on it.
That's right. The LA Zoo stamp of approval. I love the shot right now. Look how much smaller that turkey vulture looks.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me, they're like, how big are condors? I'm like, well, you know how big it is. You've seen a turkey vulture, double, triple that. You know, you can really see it. I mean, it's dramatic right now, the size difference.
It looks like a little pigeon over there.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a crow at first. I was like,
well, by volume, and you kind of look at like Aniko, who's probably somewhere around 18 or 19 pounds, and a turkey vulture is what, 4 pounds?
Yeah.
So
a quarter.
Volume wise, it kind of tells you.
So what is
it's a lot of weight to get off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but I always give a shout out to the turkey vultures, because those, when we first started releasing up in Big Sur, they were so valuable in showing the birds where to feed, where to roost. I remember our condors followed those flocks of turkey vultures around. They led them to not only their first wild sea lion carcass, but they led them to the best redwoods to roost in during the storms. So, you know, now the tables have turned a little bit. They're kind of like, hey, we know what's going on now, guys. But we did have one of our release birds from last year recently following some turkey vultures around down around Cambria, San Simeon, which is pretty cool because, yeah, it's interesting, their relationship with turkey vultures, but it's definitely a turkey vultures have to wait kind of thing. But you guys have them. I've been down there at LA Zoo, Mike, and the turkey vultures will come in and land on the flight pens with the condors, right?
Yeah, rarely at the LA Zoo. At the San Diego,
that's what it was.
Yeah, they're all over the tops of the cages over there for some reason, and not so much over here. We don't have a lot of turkey vultures in Burbank.
But yeah, really cool. Close cousins.
Yeah.
Similar, but you know, it's funny that even if that turkey vulture waits, he still gets a meal. I mean, they can get in those nooks and crannies on a carcass that the condors can't get to. And yeah, we've noticed that they're fine with just waiting, letting the condors fill up and move on, and then they'll come in and do their part. But pretty cool relationship they have with these little guys. Boy, and Aniko is feeling really comfortable. It'd be interesting to see if some of the big boys show up. Mike's bird 566 and 711. Because they have a little bit different of a ranking. So we're pretty excited on that. Speaking of Mike's bird 566, that bird's unfortunately he lost his mate 725. She died from lead poisoning this year. So we're hoping he finds a new mate. Oh, something happened.
1038 just took off and the branch broke as she flew away.
Oh, and it startled everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, there's Diane. Right. Oh, look at these two hanging out by the pool.
Yeah, we got the primatologist by the pool.
Yeah. So that's pretty perfect. They now know, you know, anytime we release these birds, we like them to know there's basically a backup food source. There's water that they can come back to. And honestly, you know, the biggest draw is going to be those pre-release Yurok birds hanging out in the release pen. The social draw is pretty huge when you release condors. When they come back, you know, we found when we need to recapture a condor or capture condors, when we have a condor in a pen, it's better than bait. You know, it's better than you would think. So it just really highlights that how important the social hierarchy is to these birds. What are these guys doing? Oops, sorry, lost the cam going. Got a little wild with the cam. So what's happening is Rachel just hanging out.
Yep. Yeah. Cozy. Stay comfortable.
That's fine too, you know. She just takes her time going out. I'll be curious to see if somebody goes up and escorts her out.
Right.
Pretty cool. I wonder where they'll end up tonight. I wonder if they'll all roost together somewhere nearby.
There's a lot of good options. So
Yeah, you can't really see it on the cams, but there's huge pine forests that surround the release site, which makes it a really nice release site. Because one of the things we like after a release is that the birds perch up off the ground for obvious reasons. They're at night, they're vulnerable to predators if they're on the ground. If they're high up in a tree, they're very safe. So that's step one is tonight, you know, that these, the crew will track these birds to make sure they're in safe areas up off the ground. If they end up on the ground, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we usually will stay close by. Someone might take a sleeping bag and sleep out of view of the bird, but nearby to keep away predators, potential ground predators. Typically though, that's pretty rare. Most of the birds, at least the last, most of the releases we've done in the last 5 years, they all end up in a tree at the end of the day. So that's part of our monitoring, just getting them out there. It's baby steps in a way, just making sure they hit these little benchmarks as they go out. And again, the trick doing it without them seeing you is the most challenging part.
Hey, Joe, I'd like to jump in real quick. I noticed a couple of board members that have been here joining us today, and at least two, I'd like to recognize them, Bill Eckert and Jay Sinclair. Thank you for your service. And if there's others that are on today's call and I didn't see, I apologize. Also, great opportunity to thank our guests again, Dr. Tara Stawinski from the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund and Mike and Chandra from the Los Angeles Zoo. Finally, if you're looking to make a contribution toward condor recovery and support our Central California flock in particular, we have been sending you information you've probably seen. We have a year-end gift program at Monterey County Gives, which is easily found on our website. We also still have our matching gift program with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to the end of the year. So thank you for being here today. I'm not cutting it short, but I just wanted to make sure I got that in there before we wrap up.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Explore.
Big thanks to
Ranch
Explore. Yep, thank you for that, Joe. Let me get that out. Explore.org provides the feed for the streaming cameras, and Ranch Wi-Fi provides the Wi-Fi in San Simeon. And without that, we wouldn't have any of these images today. So big thanks to them as well. Also, we're going to post this Zoom chat on our website afterwards. So please share it with others and get the word out. I guess that's really about it. Although I'd like to point out, so Ventana Wilderness Alliance is actually a different organization. I appreciate the comments in the chat, but Ventana Wildlife Society is us, and we're the ones that are reintroducing California condors to the wild. Ventana Wilderness Alliance is a great group that we've collaborated with in the past, but they're focused on other issues. Just want to make that clear. Anyway, this is probably a good place to wrap up. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'll keep the cam going. The cam feed will keep going today. So tune in. You can watch the cam on our website or explore.org. So switch over to view the cams there, the normal spots. And we'll keep the cams on the action, and just appreciate everybody joining us this morning for this momentous kind of celebration. Not only INIKO, but really cool to connect with the Gorilla Fund and Dian Fossey, and just the connections are endless. But really cool, and thank you, everyone. Thanks, LA.
All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.